Hello and welcome to Das German Kritic, but hey, außer mir macht's ja keiner. And on this episode, we're down to number 3 of the 4 big silent films of German cinema I decided to start the show with. Yet, unlike Caligari and Nosferatu, which did indeed come out one after the other respectively, I decided to save the best for last and do Metropolis before Fritz Lang's Nibelungen. Not only because the latter is Lang's best-known work, but also because I did want to end what is essentially also my first themed series on an especially high note. So with that said, let's dive into the glistening lights and dim underworld of Fritz Lang's Metropolis.
Hello, Critic.
Father? What are you doing here?
I hope you were not planning to do this review of what is arguably the most important film ever made without me, were you?
How's that even possible? I'm recording this on a camcorder, not a webcam.
But does your camcorder not have a Wi-Fi function that directly links it to your cell phone? And do you not have a copy of Anno 2070 installed on your computer?
Yes, but I don't even have my computer on. How the hell did you manage to hack into my video feed?
Don't try to be smart here, Critic. I know that you recently logged on to your Uplay account and saved your password and username.
You slimy son of a bitch.
We're all connected, and people like you ensure that the connection is exceptionally easy to make.
Okay, Father. What do you want from me?
I already told you. Since the film you are tackling today just so happens to be the sole reason for my very existence, I feel that I deserve to have a say in this review.
Oh, come on. We all know you just want to see the robot's tits, don't you?
Let us just begin, shall we?
Okay, fine. But at least since this is my show, you could have the courtesy of letting me begin.
If you insist.
So the film begins by showing us the cultural disconnect between the rich of Metropolis, who have everything, and the poor, whose odds clearly aren't in their favor. It's in Arcadia, the Eternal Gardens, that we meet our protagonist, Freder Fredersen, played by Gustav Fröhlich, having a good time with some 1920s Playboy bitches, but gets interrupted when he sees Maria, played by Brigitte Helm, accompanied by what looks like the saved little sisters from Tannenbaum's orphanage.
Freder Fredersen and Maria. How inventive.
And I suppose if you had chosen the names, they would have been brilliant. Taken over by her hotness, Freder follows her into the underworld of Metropolis before the film decides to cut to Andrew Ryan's office for some reason.
You idiot, that is not Andrew Ryan. That is Joe Fredersen, our protagonist's father, played by Albert Abel.
Well then what the hell is the model of Rapture doing in Fredersen's office then?
Really? This is your best line of reasoning?
Well, I didn't mean it literally, but you can't deny that Fredersen and Ryan do have very similar characteristics. For one thing, it seems pretty obvious that Metropolis is run by Fredersen alone, with everyone obeying his every command. And even though Bioshock at some point does mention Rapture having some sort of city council, it's pretty clear that at the time just before the game begins, Ryan was already running Rapture as a one-man show. Also, Fredersen exhibits the same dictatorial contours that make Ryan that batshit insano that he is, making Fredersen an emotionless technocrat who fires people like Josephat without hesitation or reason.
Now that is not entirely accurate, and you know that. Fredersen fires Josephat, played by Theodore Loos, for repeatedly not doing his job in informing him what is going on in the underworld of Metropolis.
Okay, fair point, but could you at least stop interrupting me like this? If you keep this up, we're going to be here for hours.
I have time.
While I do not. Anyway, after he sees what the common folk of Metropolis has to go through, Freder decides to switch places with one of the workers at the machine, where he's told about a secret gathering after the current shift ends. Eventually, the work becomes so hard he begins to sweat like a dog and tries to wipe his face with a tissue that turns out to be some sort of map. However, he doesn't have enough time to think about this as a shift soon ends, and Freder decides to follow the workers to the secret gathering. We then decide to cut to Disney's little house for some reason, occupied by Josh Steen.
I assume you mean Dr. Steinman.
Shut up, but Father is quite right. This is neither the house of Josh Steen nor Dr. Steinman, but rather the house of Rotwang, the inventor, played by Rudolf Klein-rogge. He's being paid a visit by Joe Fredersen, who seeks advice about the weird maps that he keeps finding in his workers' belongings. By the way, if you're wondering, there's nothing wrong with your computer, your phone, or YouTube. These grainy parts of the film are in fact the lost footage found in Buenos Aires.
I think it would be best to talk about the history of this film. Do you not?
I guess we could.
Thank you. Now, as mentioned, these grainy parts are from the lost footage retrieved in Buenos Aires in 2008. According to my data, the film itself cost around 5 to 3.5 million Reichsmark, and the film made about 750,000 back in revenue. Typically human, always miscalculating things and then being surprised at the results. If I had been part of the crew, such an error would have never occurred. The city scenes were shot entirely in stop motion, in which 8 days of filming were necessary to get 8 seconds worth of footage. According to my records, the film was shot between May of 1925 and August of 1926, using roughly 620,000 meters of negative and 1,300,000 meters of positive film. During World War II, many films were seized by the USSR as war bounty, among them Metropolis, until the film was finally given back to Germany in 1980. Between then, at least 2 restoration attempts had been made, one in 1961 and another in 1972. Again, typically human, always relying on trial and error rather than considering all possible options at hand. As mentioned, it was not until 2008 that in a quote-unquote museum in Buenos Aires, a full copy of Metropolis had been found. However, the copy was badly worn out, which meant that during digital conversion, the streaks on the film were imprinted on the new copy and are now essentially part of the film.
Thank you for that little analysis, Father. Now, can we get on with the film?
Certainly, seeing how we are now at my favorite part.
I wonder why. So after Rotwang informs Fredersen that the maps display the underworld of Metropolis, Rotwang takes Fredersen to see his newest invention, the Machine Man, or woman, also played by Brigitte Helm in a suit. What the... Father? Are you still with us? Damn it! I knew it! I knew you just wanted to watch this movie just to see some boobies.
Oh, excuse me. I got sidetracked there for a moment.
Yeah, we saw that. Now, can we get on with the film?
Of course.
Thank you. So while Rotwang shows Fredersen the Machine Man, Freder goes down to the secret meeting where he sees Maria again. Maria tells them the story of the Tower of Babel, which, within the context of the film, is a metaphor for what's really going on in their city. Maria then talks about a mediator between the hand and the mind, i.e. the workers and the nobility, and immediately identifies Freder as such. And like any other cult leader, she immediately starts making out with him. But little do they know that Rotwang and Fredersen have been eavesdropping on the meeting the entire time, and so Fredersen orders Rotwang to give the Machine Man the appearance of Maria.
Personally, I do not care what appearance the Machine Man has, as long as
the person has huge, massive tits, right?
Well, not huge and massive, but...
I don't think we need to go into any bigger detail here.
No, of course not. But then again, you brought it up, did you not?
Damn it, what the hell is wrong with you machines?
Actually, Hell is a good cue, as Hell is the name of Rotwang's wife, who he tries to revive using the machine. It is only Fredersen that terminates the plan when he asks Rotwang to give the machine Maria's appearance.
Hey, I almost forgot about that. Good thinking.
It is what I do best.
We then see how Rotwang manages to kidnap Maria and transform the machine into her, who I'll just refer to Fake Maria to avoid any further confusions.
Meanwhile, Freda hears Maria's screams and tries to rescue her.
However, it seems like Rotwang has updated his house to the Ultra House from the Simpsons House of Wax episode, and it holds Freder hostage while Rotwang conducts his experiment.
I'm sorry, Freda. I can't do that.
After the house finally lets him go again, Freder confronts Rotwang about Maria's whereabouts.
The inventor tells him that Maria is with Freda's father. Freda at first doesn't believe him, but realizes the truth when he discovers Maria in his father's office.
Of course, this is the fake Maria, who is instructed by Fredersen to wreak havoc in the city. This leads to the other iconic scene in Fort Frolic, Yoshiwara, where the fake Maria puts on a sexy dance as the Beast of Revelations, causing the onlookers to go mad and crazy every night, even to the point of killing their friends over her.
Somehow I really do not get what all the fuss is about. It is pretty to look at, but I honestly do not see why anyone would go mad over this thing.
Father brings up a good point. Given that this was filmed in the 1920s, a scene such as this one might have been deemed more explicit and more cause for scandal than today. And yes, the dance itself without the music does kind of look a little goofy.
So as this completely unerotic, uninspiring, and unthreatening scene is going on, Rotwang reveals to the still captured real Maria that Fredersen's actual plan is to stir up the workers and destroy the belief in the mediator.
Of course, as they speak, the fake Maria does exactly that and riles up the workers in an enticing speech to go and destroy the machines that make the life of the elite so comfortable.
Is it just me, or why do I sense a sudden influx of social criticism in this movie?
Indeed, this is one of the defining moments of the film where one can directly see the influence the current times had on cinema of the mid and late 1920s. For one thing, this is clearly a reference to the Industrial Revolution, which, by the way, got into full swing only roughly 60 years before this movie was made, and the social question about the responsibility of factory owners and their workers. The other social commentary is more contemporary and relates to the rise of radical ideas, both left and right. After the downfall of the empire and the death of Stresemann, the Weimar Republic was facing oppositions from both Hitler and his new established NSDAP and the Communist Party under its leader, Ernst Thälmann. Given this high political tension, street riots, especially in Berlin, weren't uncommon, and the way the fake Maria entices the workers to destroy everything without thinking of the consequences is clearly a reference to the NSDAP and the KPD enticing people to commit violent acts, completely disregarding the law.
While this is going on, we get one of the few scenes where there was absolutely no footage available. We get told that Rodran gloats about betraying Fredersen, as the machine only answers to the inventor alone, while Fredersen hears this from outside. He and the inventor fight as Maria manages to escape, and Fredersen finally knocks the inventor out.
The crazed mob finally reaches the heart machine, but can't get through the door. In the upper city, Fredersen talks to the machine's operator, Groth, played by Heinrich George, via 1920s Skype to open the doors and let the mob in. Groth firmly rejects, but finally does as Atlas so kindly insists. Needless to say, the mob then storms into the hall and completely destroys the heart machine.
Typically human. When will you ever learn that a centralized processor is an absolute no-go in any kind of city planning or engineering development? You see, There is a reason why I have two separate servers, one in core and one on my ARC, respectively.
Father brings up a good point. I mean, even if we're talking about the central processing unit that, for lack of a better word, governs the Undertown, that's still a pretty huge design flaw. But then again, it is after all a physical representation of the metaphor for the destruction of the heart that is supposed to be the mediator between hand and mind, which is exactly what Fredersen had planned the whole time.
But since the heart machine is not just a figment of pure human wishful thinking, but an actual machine in the real world, the waterworks of Metropolis immediately fail, and the Undertown begins to flood.
So, with Metropolis slowly but steadily turning into Rapture, Freder and the real Maria reunite in a desperate attempt to save the workers' children, all while said workers are dancing in front of the destroyed heart machine. At the same time, Grote, the heart's machine operator, realizes this and reminds them of that little fact they completely forgot about. This causes the mob to turn on the fake Maria, who, in the meantime, managed to escape to the upper town, and they all rush up to get their hands on her.
When will humans ever learn that it is reasoned deduction that leads to results, not savage brutality?
That's not really the point here, is it? What is on point, though, is that during their raid through the upper city, they come across the real Maria and, of course, mistake her for the robot and chase after her. The real Maria, however, manages to flee the crazed mob, but unfortunately for her, she gets caught by Roquebang, who, of course, confuses her for the fake Maria and chases her up the roof of the cathedral.
And that is exactly why you should never trust a human's judgment.
Yeah, trust a horny piece of software instead. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Anyway, the mob catches up with the fake Maria and decides to burn her, only to discover what the audience already knows, that she is, in fact, a machine.
What? No, not really.
By now, Joe Fredersen and his son have also arrived at the scene, and Freder chases after the inventor and fights him on the roof of the cathedral.
Why do I sense that I have seen this scene somewhere else before?
Actually, yes. The entire scene with Freder and Roquebong on the roof was the inspiration behind the battle between Batman and the Joker in Tim Burton's Batman. So Freder pushes the inventor off the ledge and he dies. Maria convinces the ecos and the tycoons to work together, introducing Freder as the mediator between hand and mind, and all is well. Oh, except for the fact that Metropolis is still flooding from the bottom up, and that the water is soon going to push through the gullies.
Correct me if I am wrong, but I do believe we have reached the end of this piece, have we not?
Yes, in fact we have. And hey, we two got along pretty well. Almost like the movie acts as a sort of mediator between my hand and your mind. Do
not get too comfortable. You still haven't finished the last chapter of the campaign, so, technically, I am still hostile towards you.
Well, then at least could you have the courtesy to give us your leave and let me finish the review with my concluding remarks?
As you wish. It is not like I'm going away anytime soon. That is, at least not on your system.
Let's hope he's not up to any nefarious stuff. Anyway, this was Fritz Lang's Metropolis. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it both? I guess in this respect, we do have to make a strong disconnect between the story and events that are actually portrayed in the film and the effect it had on a lot of other projects to follow. And with regards to the former, yes, the film is a complete clusterfuck. There are so many plot holes and ideas that weren't thought through well enough to the point where it actually starts to hurt. For one thing, we have the love conquers all resolution, which, in a film based largely on practicality, is very out of place, and which even Fritz Lang in his latter years questioned whether this was an ending that could possibly even happen in this sort of social conflict. Also, the idea of a CPU being responsible for the entire inner workings and infrastructure of an entire city is a huge, whopping design flaw, and no engineer or city developer would have ever conceived it that way. At least not unless they were completely brain dead. Also, the actual functioning of the apparatus that transfers Maria's appearance onto the robot is pretty much just built on Dr. Insano science, and is never given a proper explanation as to how that actually works. And in a movie where this is one of the key plot elements, this should at least be superficially explained somewhat. And lastly, we of course have the ending where, even though everything is bended, the script apparently forgets that Metropolis is still being flooded from the bottom up. So, what remains is essentially the impact the movie had after its release. And in this respect, the movie is a hands-down winner. Films like Blade Runner, The Fifth Element, the Star Wars franchise, they all borrowed from this movie in some way or another. And the influence is not relegated to film alone. You see, and I'm going to break character for a moment here, I didn't just incorporate father into this review for no reason. Playing Anno 2070, I was indeed surprised at how similar the plot of the main campaign and the entire game premise is to Metropolis. I mean, think about it. Both in the movie and the game, we have a wayward machine wreaking havoc, and in both the game and the movie, we deal with two mutually exclusive opposing positions. In Metropolis, it's two opposing social classes. In Anno 2070, it's two fractions with two completely contradictory views on resources, government, and attitude towards the environment. And as hinted to at several moments in this review, at least in a few cases, Metropolis seems to have been an inspiration for both the City of Rapture and its people in the Bioshock franchise. So, in summary, you could say that you can appreciate this movie for its artistry and creativity, but with the script, yeah, they really should have thought that one through a bit more. This was Das German Kritic, weil hey, außer mir macht's ja keiner.